huge learning gap already. You know, I'm talking about character here with respect to learning. It matters what character a kid brings to school. And why did we all decide, why did we all, say it's from the home? The home is very critical in determining children's character and culture. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a relationship between kids' character and academic outcomes. The school was designed to build on whatever character attributes parents have developed at home. Schools can't develop it for you. Whatever you develop is what they further. Some research also accounts for home background as a strong denominator for student learning outcomes. You know, that line of research also highlights success as a mirror of parent success or parental involvement in school. So, for example, my area of specialization is reading. Research has shown that kids' vocabulary size at the beginning of kindergarten or beginning of school is half the size of their parents' vocabulary. So that tells you that kids, be it character traits or success, reflects that of their parents. So somehow, some people argue that the kids who come from high-income families who can afford the best of resources for their kids are the ones who perform better. But why that might sound like a legitimate argument, I don't think that's the full answer. To balance the answer, I think why kids from certain homes possess certain character traits or have higher learning outcomes or performance is that I'll show you 5 factors here. Let me show you some factors that determine character traits as well as produce high performing children. And these 5 factors, I think parents can build on to help kids develop great character traits. And first of them is a culture of learning. A culture of learning starts with parents' perception of even the world. People who see more to themselves, who have big dreams, who pursue or keep stretching and growing will definitely engage in certain activities compared to people who don't even have any dream or what they live for, right? So a parent's appetite for growth and excellence determines the kind of books they read or not, whether they even want to read, whether they even buy books. It determines what they watch, places they visit. It determines virtually everything, every activity you engage in. You wouldn't imagine how much little things you do often cultivate a culture in your home and also rub off on your kids. So you know how kids are good copiers. Kids, they watch and they observe everything. And as they observe, they absorb everything you do. Just like we use culture to describe tribe or races, homes do have culture. And one of that is culture of learning. A child from a home that prioritizes activities related to learning, such as reading, um, will naturally exhibit character traits like discipline, focus, analytical thinking. Back to the example I gave earlier, parents who, as research has shown, parents who have larger vocabulary size have kids also who have larger vocabulary size compared to their peers. Everything you do reflects on your kid. So if you are a reader, it both builds a culture of reading in your kid and reflects in your communication with them. It naturally rubs off on them, just like how they learn language in the first place. That's how they virtually learn everything. So when there is a culture of learning, it rubs up on the kids. They just absorb it as they observe. And the second factor that determines kids' character traits developed from home is interest. Interest. Parents' interests are not hidden. They're not hidden to your kids. You model the kind of interest you want your kids to learn from. Although that doesn't mean that they will not have their unique interest. We work with kids based on their individual differences, yes, but kids observe and absorb parents' interest. For example, a child knows dad loves watching football, or mom loves watching movies, or mom is always TikToking. They're seeing your interest. Those are examples of interest. You know, this is also why I don't believe that academic performance is solely about socioeconomic status, about income differences. There's a role that parents' interests play. There's an example I used to give to my students in the classroom. So here in the US, they have community free public libraries, and even within those libraries, they have literacy programs. There are also science museums. These are all free public amenities, right? But it's only a parent who has interest in academics or who has a culture of learning that can take the kids there or exploit those resources. Despite equal access to resources like that, it's parents' interest that actually creates a culture of curiosity and learning, and that translates to kids' character with respect to learning. Are we together on that? Interest, culture of learning. The third factor is presence. So your presence is a language of trust, a language of care, confidence to your kids. One of the challenges that schools I work with around here face currently is parents are not present. Now, talking about present doesn't mean physical presence. It's about intentionality and purpose. We have to be intentional with our presence around our kids. That looks like, establishing routines and family traditions that hold you accountable to be present and spend quality time with kids. A parent can even say, I choose to be present, but they're not really present. They can't say no to additional shifts. I'm talking with respect to here in America. They can't say no to additional shifts. And it's also like that everywhere. Opportunities that seem to steal away that time, they can't say no to that when it looks juicy. It's about knowing when to say no intentionally, when you need to set boundaries, be it with relationships that consume your time or refrain from certain social activities that are not worth your time or aligned with your family purpose, your family goals. So from here onwards, be intentional with your structure of how you structure your time. Be present for your children so they can have a healthy character development. And the fourth here is communication. Communication. Now, there's a difference between being present and communication. A parent may be home with a kid, but absent. And that is very common these days. When there is no communication, there is no presence. You're just physically present, but not present. You're absent. You may be present, but do you communicate? We live in a time where parents communicate more with their phones and social media than their kids. Likewise, children are almost left to technology, tablets, and different forms of media, to communicate with. If adults are not intentional these days, those forces, like technologies, they will fill the gaps we leave. When you hand kids over to devices, they're going to fill the gap. They learn communication there. They just grow with it. It wires them. So that said, be mindful and intentional about communicating with your kids and the kind of words you use for communicating with them. Communication is a strong determiner of emotional and social development. Also, the quality of communication your child receives from you determines their oral language development. I do that a lot with my kids, with questioning, even from the toddler stage, when they are 1 year old, 2 year old, you communicate with them. I see that a lot with Nigerian parents, even here in the US, that they don't communicate with kids when they're that young. You start building that oral language development because that's what's going to help their early literacy skills development. And the fifth factor I want to share is vision. Vision applies to virtually every life endeavor, including parenting. When we talk about vision, it's about sight. How do you see your kids? Where do you see them in the future? Have you captured that in your imagination? What character traits? It's not about saying, oh, I want my kid to be a doctor. I want my kid to be an engineer, but where do you see them actually in the future? what character traits do you want to see in them? And how do you see their socio-emotional development that's going to lead them to that? When you think about this, that will determine how you intentionally build their character and socio-emotional development. So it sounds like, what are the short-term goals you would set to get them there? You know, but when there's no vision, you can't really control who they become or even understand their development or even talk about partnering with teachers and schools to support your kids' academic growth. For example, for my kids, I set a goal for myself that they must read not later than 5 years old. So my first daughter, my first read at 3, and my second daughter started reading shortly before 5. And we're still working on strengthening that, before she goes to kindergarten. That happened by vision and setting short-term goals that got us there. If you don't have a vision, you can't even partner with teachers and schools. Again, why is the home a place for character development and not the school? Can you all give me a recap in the chat? Why is the home the place for character development and not the school? I want to see your response in the chat. Why home again? I've given 5 factors. Why home? I'm looking at the chat. Someone said, have a vision, set short-term goals to accomplish it. Okay, why the home? Anybody? The home is the first port of call. Awesome. Yes. So let me recap and move ahead. The school only comes in to build on what was developed at home. Home is the foundation. Charity begins at home. If your child comes in with character traits that enhance learning, then they are better positioned for learning. But if the teacher meets a gap that only parents can fill, no teacher is going to do your job. You cannot outsource that. That child would definitely have to struggle with catching up with his or her peers because you've not handed them the character traits they need to succeed at school. My next question before I close out that part, what are the 5 factors I mentioned that support healthy character and social emotional development at home? What are the 5 factors? I want to see them in the chat. 5 factors, what are they? Culture of learning, communication, presence, yes. Vision, awesome. Okay, thank you guys. Again, parents, focus on cultivating a culture of learning, developing the right interests, being present, but also maximizing that presence with communication. And lastly, having a vision for your child's development and future. Now, let's talk about how teachers, schools, and parents can work as partners towards kids' all-round development. There are 2 points that I'll share here and then have you all ask questions. I used to prefer I prefer to communicate like, I prefer, how am I going to put it? One-on-one interaction than me giving a lecture. I don't know, I'm used to that. So I'm going to share how teachers and parents can work. 2 points I'll share here, and then I'll have you all ask your questions. And here again, my first recommendation to any parent is to have a vision. You can't outsource this to the school or teachers. Without vision on the side of the parent, there can't be any meaningful relationship or collaboration between teachers and parents. So parents can only partner when they know where their kids are headed and where they themselves also are headed. I shared an example earlier with myself. I have a vision for my kids, and based on that vision, I have short-term goals that, help help me work towards that vision. I told myself that my kids must read before age 5, and it's doable because I've seen it. And that's before kindergarten. Here, kindergarten is like what we call primary one in Nigeria. So my first daughter, like I mentioned, read at 3, and the second started reading shortly before 5. If you look at them, they read at different points. Before I got the second to read, it took me reviewing how I teach her. It took me to develop new strategies and observing her own uniqueness. And that leads me to the second point, which is individual differences. What are we even partnering for? What are parents and teachers partnering? What you're partnering for, partnership is to support every child to reach his or her maximum potential. And that starts from identifying kids' uniqueness, their individual differences. Who is this child? What are his or her strengths? What are his or her talents? Ways of knowing, ways of learning. Although both parents and teachers have to partner in this journey of discovery and developing children's unique traits, it starts from the home. My two kids, like I told you, are completely different. I was able to get my first to read at 3 based on her unique strengths. She had strong oral language development early. She's naturally curious. I remember her preschool teachers once sent me a video of her. They found her reading a book at school, and they videoed her and sent us the video. I already knew she was reading before they found out. Yeah. So the news wasn't a surprise to me because I knew my child. I had a vision. I supported her early development. For my second, it was different. She's more interested in music, stage performance, fancy things. I could identify those, but I didn't stop her just observing. I built on her uniqueness to teach her how to read. That looks like supporting kids to become an outlier. That's what it means for me. It's about nurturing kids' uniqueness to reach their full potentials. When I think about outliers, I think about discovering kids' individual differences. Who are they? How can we help them learn? Where can we meet them? And how do we support them to reach their full potentials, to maximize their purpose while they are here on earth? It starts from home, but that's actually what we partner for at school. So a parent, you know what you observe, and the school, they know what they observe. And when you come together, it makes a beautiful story for the child. You you help each other connect the dots. I can take questions now. That's all I have for my session. I prefer, is it called two-sided communication than lecture. In my classes, I don't lecture, we talk. So I want to see questions in the chat.
That was amazing. By the way, I just have to say, I'm just jumping quickly. That was amazing.
Thank you.
I know it's not your style, especially because you are even in an area where you teach
I'm not
others.
even home. I know.
Yeah. So I totally understand, and thank you so much for doing this. I'm really grateful for those people that have, when they say he has ears, let him hear. I hope you heard. I'm really hoping you heard. And so thank you so much. If you have questions, please drop it in the chats and it will be taken up by our team. But I want to thank you guys. Please let's appreciate Dr. Chioma. Our pre-conference session was, I know by the time we entered the panel session now, it's gone. Oh my God, please let us give her thank yous to Stephen. Please, your thank yous to Dr. Pemi, your thank yous. Just celebrate them on my behalf. Thank you very, very much. Up next, we're going to be bringing
I
on
see a
board.
question here, though.
Okay, please go ahead. I'm not saying, okay, one of
Um,
the speakers talked about pressuring. Now, this issue of setting goals like yourself, does it not amount to pressuring? Did you understand the question?
oh yeah, she's asking if it doesn't amount with pressure. I think it depends on how we interpret that. So, I gave you examples with my two kids. That one read at 3 did mean that the other one had to read at 3. But
Mm,
because that's my area of research, I knew that the average age for reading was 5, you know, and that was the goal that I set for them because going into kindergarten, it helps a lot if they can read. And why I also did that is because in Nigeria, we seem to be even a little bit ahead when it comes to when a child starts school, when a child starts learning writing, reading than over here. So here, some kids don't even get the opportunity to go to preschool because it's based on income. So some parents choose to pay, while some choose to, stay home. Some choose to do it themselves. So it varies here. But kindergarten, they're getting into a classroom where they will need to do some reading, they will need to do some writing, they will need to understand certain things, and it helps when they can read. Kindergarten is like primary one.
mm,
So there wasn't any pressure. I knew the first read at 3, but there are two different people. They have their unique strengths. I didn't have to pressure the second one. In fact, what actually helped the first one to read early was I had time for her during COVID. We spent a lot of time working on alphabet. Immediately she picked up alphabet. I knew she was ready for reading. But for the second, she wouldn't even let me teach her alphabet. So I left her, I allowed her to take her time. Not until around 4, close to 4, she picked interest. She started, listening, and we started working on alphabet because that's the foundation. And when we worked on that, I was observing her. And in fact, I tried different things. I examined the strategies I used for the first. They didn't work for her. I observed her own uniqueness. I understood this girl is a stage performer. She's an artist. She's not interested in this kind of book stuff. But reading is like the basic skill. It's even the most critical skill because it helps them for even math skills, other basic literacy skills. Then I tapped into her interest. She's interested in music. She's interested in, okay, Zina, let's make a video of you reading. Ah, she loves that. And I will make a video of her reading. You see that? Yeah, and that was how we got we started and we've come this far. Yeah, so I tapped on her interest, no pressure, just doing what we need to do. Yeah, good question. Okay, someone said, my question is about vocabulary development in children. Which should be taught first, a child's local mother tongue or adopted language? So I grew up bilingual in Nigeria. I can speak Igbo and I can speak English. And like I was discussing with Miss Adora yesterday, I started reading early. I started reading at 5, at least not like my first daughter. I started reading at 5, primary one. I could read and I could still speak Igbo. I knew the two of them. So kids are very pliable at that age. Whatever you expose them to, they absorb it. If they can read, if they can speak Igbo, it's easy for them also to read Igbo. And there are so many rules that I actually violate from my practice as someone who prepares teachers. So if the state gives us curriculum, I have to go by that, but also make some of my own adaptations. But things like vocabulary, I also want to share this here that parents, like some research shows that parents who have a larger size of vocabulary also have kids, like their kids would have about half that size going to school. So if you're a parent who reads, how do we develop vocabulary? If you're a parent who reads, you will see that your vocabulary just naturally grows and that rubs off on your kid in your interaction, be it in Igbo or in English. So you just have to also be bilingual. given the Nigerian context. I would appreciate if my kids were bilingual, but we tried it. It's been hard. My husband is Yoruba, I'm Igbo. We speak different things at different times, So the environment to fuel that wasn't really there for them. Although I'm enrolling them for Igbo classes this January. I already initiated that. Yeah. So being bilingual is an asset. Don't suppress one because one has to grow.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There's another question, but please, the team in charge of questions, please hold on to that question. Hold on to Celine's question because we need to jump into the panel session right now. And I want to quickly, I'm gonna bring up our panelists in a bit, but we have to have their bios done. But I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Chioma, and thank you for also doing this panel session with us. It's also a core part of our conversation. So I'm gonna play their bios.
Introducing Frederick Nnamdi Ibimbo. Frederick Nnamdi Ibimbo, also known online as FNISBC, is a husband, father, dedicated technology educator, smartphone business consultant, and professional YouTuber with a mission, turning what many see as addiction into opportunity. His journey began in the trenches of smartphone overuse, constantly distracted, scrolling, consuming, often feeling the weight of wasted potential. But instead of resigning himself to passivity, Frederick decided to flip the script. He transformed his own habits into tools for empowerment, using everyday technology as a platform for productivity, profitability, and meaning. As a smartphone business consultant, Frederick equips individuals with practical, actionable skills to monetize smartphone use. Whether it's generating income through content creation, mastering digital employability, or leveraging smartphone apps for business efficiency, he bridges the gap between theory and real-world payoff. On YouTube, Frederick contributes to the tech education sphere by creating content that tackles both the pitfalls and possibilities of tech saturation. He explores topics like smartphone addiction, digital skill building, app-based business models, and productivity hacks. Frederick's message is simple but radical. You're more capable than your circumstances, and with the right habits, tools, and mindset, the smartphone in your hand can become the launch pad for your best work. Let's make welcome Frederick Nnamdi Ibimbo.
All right, let's welcome Mr. Frederick, and I'll have Joshua's bio played.
Introducing.
Just give me a moment, and I just want you to celebrate them already.
Introducing Joshua Ogbonia. Introducing Joshua Ogbonia. Joshua Ogbonia is a Pan-African serial entrepreneur, education innovator, and visionary leader dedicated to transforming education across Africa and globally. He brings over a decade of experience in education, technology, and community development, driven by a deep commitment to empowering educators and learners. Joshua is the founder and president of Global Educators Tribe, a movement and community that connects education changemakers, fosters collaboration, and promotes transformative education practices worldwide. Under his leadership, the organization has grown into a global network focused on collaborative impact and professional development for educators. Beyond Global Educators Tribe, he is also the founder and chief vision officer of eSchool Now Group, an education and tech solutions organization, and leads complementary initiatives such as eTeacher Network and Tech School, which aim to equip educators and learners with skills for the digital age. Joshua's work centers on reimagining how education is led, learned, and designed, encouraging lifelong learning, innovation, and global collaboration among teachers, leaders, and learners. Let's make welcome Joshua Ogbonia. Introducing Joshua.
All right. Hey. Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me clearly? Welcome, FNI, Spotlight. Okay, can everyone hear me? Perfect, thank you. Awesome. Okay, Dr. Chioma, are you here? Oh yeah, the echo. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, hold on. I'm back. So sorry. So sorry.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Hello, Joshua. Good to have you around. These are busy people. I dragged them from their work to come spend time with us here at the hub. Why did I say hub? Yeah, at the hub. Who knows? Might change the hub very soon. Okay, but we are here. Frederick, our latest daddy, guys. He's a very now he has a lot on his plate. He has a lot on his plate.
Thank you
Daddy
for having me.
Amethyst. Daddy Amethyst, you have a lot on your plate. I'm sorry for dragging you. It was very it.
It's okay.
Thank
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
me.
so much for coming to spend time with us. Again, you're always available for us. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. And also Dr. Chioma, again, thank you so much. This is a panel session that is greatly needed. And our focus for this panel session is on ensuring that we find that balance, that necessary balance between AI and raising our children. So the title of this session, for everyone who doesn't know, is Raising AI Literate Children Without Losing Their Humanity. Raising AI literate children without losing their humanity. And our goal is to learn how to help children use AI as a creative tool, not a substitute for thinking. So that's our goal for this session. Now, quickly, I'm going to dive into the questions. We just have about 30 minutes to wrap up with it just for this session. My first question will go to Frederick, right? You do a lot of work with children, smartphone productivity. You're on Betty, which I really applaud. I can't wait for Annabelle to grow so that I can just put her in your class. I know that that part of my work is covered. But my question is, what is the biggest misconception parents have about children and AI right now? The biggest misconception.
All right. Thank you once again, Adora and the whole TFLA team
Yes,
for.
sir.
Okay, misconception. All right. So I think I would like to group parents based on, I think we introduced generative AI into our program. Was it last year? I think it was last year, you
Yep.
know. And we've had two types of parents, We have the ones I'll call the pro-human, and then we have the ones I'll call the pro-AI, and then we have the ones in the middle that don't know what's going on. So these ones you need to like cajole them. You need to tell them, okay, yeah, there's something called AI. We have all of those, three of them. All right. So to the people that are called pro-human, they'll say, no, 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 I don't want my children. Just like AI introduction, it's just like when we started using calculators, when we were in school, I think primary school or thereabout. There was a time when they'll tell you to calculate whatever thing with your head, that they are trying to help you, in mathematics and everything. So using calculator is now making you less of an intelligent person.
Mm,
Okay. It's just the same thing as the pro-human parents. They are like, oh no, we don't want this with our children. This thing is going to, it won't allow them to think anymore. It won't allow them to express their natural abilities and everything. Okay. And then the other side are the pro-AI parents. Okay. The ones that actually have, on their own, done their own research, know about AI, know about ChatGPT, know about image generation, everything. All right. So those ones, they already know some things, although that them, they still need to understand something about, just because we adults can just leverage these tools easily, there's still something about children getting access to these tools. So I've seen children that before you even tell them about ChatGPT, I can go to ChatGPT. There was a child I asked in my class, and he said, "Let me ask ChatGPT." Okay, so as much as that is fantastic, but I did not feel comfortable with him doing that. All right. And then the ones in the middle that don't know what is going on, they are the ones that you just need to tell, okay, there's something called AI, and this is how it's being used, and this is how it's not being used. Okay. Being Because our organization works with both parents from different parts of the world, I think it's also about where the parent is coming from. Okay, where the parent is coming from. Parents from, Nigeria or some part of Africa, they don't really understand what the whole concept of AI is. Okay, I think I'll categorize them as the ones that don't even know what is happening. And then amongst them, we also have the ones that think, no, this is not the right thing to do. Maybe if you're talking to people from church, okay, and all that. And then the other ones, parents from the West, they are even the ones that will come requesting, okay, if this is going to be there, I'm going to be, I would want my children to be a part of it. So the most important thing is just balance and, a future-ready message that just reassures parents, excite educators, and also just empowering these young ones.
Okay, thank you so much, Frederick. So what I'm hearing is there are some parents that are for AI, there are some parents that are against, based
Yeah,
on whatever reasons, maybe their background or what they've
yeah,
heard, or the fact that they don't even know anything about it at all. And then we have to find the balance,
yeah,
in communicating what this AI thing is about to them.
I
And I will
believe.
throw, yeah, yeah. And I will throw the next question to Joshua. Now, you are someone who you do a lot of work in redefining education, even recently, Future by Design, of which this is very much aligned to the theme for the Global Educators Tribe Retreat. Now, what is one thing that worries you about children growing up with AI, and what is one thing that excites you about children growing up with AI?
What a profound question. First of all, amazing. I've been here for like over an hour, honestly. And I've been taking in all the sessions. First of all, I want to say a big thank you and congratulations to Adora, to you, and the entire Fresh Look Africa family. This is the second time I'm being here, so I'm very excited and happy to be back. They say if they welcome you back, it means that the first time was well.
All
Hoping
right.
that I will do something that will make me welcome back again. And I thoroughly enjoyed the sessions by the first what's his name now? I can't remember. Sorry, I can't remember your name, but I enjoyed his session, and then Dr. Kehinde. I mean, I even took notes. Some things you said, it was so powerful, and this is, I believe, the beautiful thing about what Fresh Look Africa is doing, and particularly why this year's theme is just so unique, because you're not just intersecting, you're not just talking to educators now, there's parents involved. And I've always been a proponent of you cannot do education without the parents. And you cannot do parenting without the educators, because the educators and the parents are more or less partners and the same. What the parent does at home, the educator does in the school. So you need to get everybody in the table to really have these conversations. And the conversations we're having are actually it's a very honest conversation. And I think, first of all, we need to ask ourselves the real truth. You ask the question, what is my fear and what excites me? That's the bittersweet question, because it's the thing with AI. Like every other thing we have. First of all, let's take a step back to understand, AI, what is it? As educators, as parents in the house, and for those who will be watching these programs after now. Of course, it's a part of a technology. It's a kind of a technology. It's a kind of technology. And what we know about technology is that it comes to help make things better. All right. So it enhances, right? So it's an enhancer of whatever thoughts, ideas, enhancer of processes, enhancer of anything, basically. Can make things, you can accelerate amazing things using technology generally. So AI is one of such. Like who was that? Who was mentioned? Was it calculator? When yeah, Frederick just mentioned it now too. When the calculator came in and then stuff like that. So it's all these are part of technology. So it will keep coming. The only difference with this is that, of course, like every other tool, this has very great potential. It has tremendous potential to make the world a better place. It has tremendous potential to radically transform the way the world looks like. But it also has very dangerous potentials. Because I'm going to give you a report from 2025 to help you understand what we're talking about here. So there was a report that I read. 2025, we had online activity, web activity, usually pre-2025, pre-2023, online activities has been more of humans. So you've had like humans topping the chart as far as web and online activity to like 80-something%, 90-something%, and then you now have about 10% or less of bots. What are bots? Bots are they are like agents. They are, again, AI agents, here and there, performing some of them good activities, some of them malicious activities. But last year, 2025, the report that came out showed that for the first time, we had more AI activities. So there were AI activities, AI and bots that were having web activities outnumbered human activities by 51% for the first time. If it doesn't scare you, I think it's something you need to take a step back and really understand what I'm saying. So we're talking about kids. I know we're talking about kids, but think about it. You that's an adult, do you even know what is going on? Do you understand is what is true, what you think is true? Is it true again? Because if 51% of web activities are engineered by AI and bots, and by the way, the report now went further to explain that out of this 51, only 14% are good bots. So what are good bots? So for example, you go into a website and you send a message. You go into a website and you see chat us now, and you send the message, say, I want answers for this, and it responds back to you immediately with next steps and all that stuff. That's good bot, right? It's not that's AI. It's not a human at the end of the at the other side of the stuff that's responding to you in real time. No. It's AI. But that's what we call good bots. Now, you now have 37% bad bots. What are bad bots? So these are the ones creating the deep fakes. Now I can take my very fine brother's face, Frederick, feed into an AI and tell it, I want Frederick to become a gangster, or I want Frederick to shave his head and now look like a pastor. And Frederick can be speaking to people, and that becomes, and you see, you are on social media, for example, take you yourself as adults, because before you start, for you to even understand what it means for the kids, I want you to understand the impact it is on you as an adult. There has never been a time that the world has been this divided. Think about how divided and polarized the world is today. I want you to think. just look at, if you pay attention to global happenings, I mean, Dr. Kehinde, you're in the US, Adora over there in Canada. You know what the social, economic, and political tensions are in the area where you are. How many of these thoughts that you have truly are your thoughts? You know, think about it. How many of them are your thoughts? Because if there are companies that, for example, let me paint a scenario. I don't know if any of us have experienced this. You come into a place and then some people are looking at you like they've known you before, but they are giving you this very bad look as though they've known you before. And then you just, oh, well, I don't care. And then you keep doing what you're doing. And then until one day you discover that there's been a bad news spreading around for you, bad news. And then you discover, and this has been for many years. Now imagine how AI is being used to drive propaganda around the world. So when you go to ChatGPT, and remember, for example, let's take this generative AI like ChatGPT, for instance, you go and say, tell me about this, tell me about this. How does it get the answers that it gives to you? So it has to go through legacy media. It has to go through the things and opinions of people, everything that's readily available. And also remember, there's always someone behind it. Everything you are getting is not all. Of course, if you ask it 2 + 2, it will tell you it is 4. The most obvious answers here and there, but there are more critical questions that pertain to life, that pertains to how you see things, how you think, and how you respond, that are more driven by propaganda. This is what is happening to adults. Now imagine what it means to the kids. So this is not a topic that we can wave off. It is one that is absolutely important to talk about, because if we don't, I've always said this, if we don't introduce our children first, if we don't take the time to be the first to introduce them to it, lay down a framework that works to help them safely land on it and use it productively, like we said, not making it a substitute for thinking, but using it as an enabler, using it as a vision expander, using it as, for example, at tech school, a student in a very supervised environment, use it as a partner for code debugging. What you would have is, if you don't introduce them to it, what you would have is a situation where their curiosity gets the best of them and they go to these platforms, they would exploit. And another thing is, what are the limits? You can tell me there's an AI, it's just a learning platform, what are the limits? I've seen, I mean, I work with kids and teenagers. We have a an Institute of Technology and Entrepreneurship Education, and it's kids and teens. Our kids and teen school is like my favorite in everything we do there. I've seen our teenagers use AI to ask all sorts of questions. Everything that you don't have the time to discuss with them. I mean, Dr. Kehinde, you talked about presence. Parents are no longer present. They will substitute, they have questions. They will substitute you as a parent. They will take AI and substitute you, and they'll begin to ask them questions. So the problem now becomes, the danger now becomes, for example, we keep hearing things like brain rot. It's a cultural stuff, slang we've been hearing, because even adults themselves are now prone to consuming short-form content, YouTube, short-form, all those short videos, those low-quality content that begin to make your brain redundant. So we now have more adults that are not thinking a lot, they're not thinking well. So what that means for the children is that we have adults who are raising children that don't even know what they're doing. Adults themselves don't even know what they're doing. Right. How do you even, when you cannot differentiate between what is true or not true? Because now, of course, I'm sure you know that the perception is far greater than reality. So if it looks true, if I can present something to you and it looks true, it seems to be true, you will likely take it rather than the truth. And like what's his name? Winston Churchill allegedly said that the truth can travel halfway around the world before the lie can travel halfway around the world before the truth gets to even pick up his pants. Right. But that is the world we live in. And I do believe that these conversations, we have to be really frank with ourselves, tell ourselves the real truth. Do we even know what this is all about? We have to really question it. If you are speaking at a school, it's something that you have to sit down and discuss. It's not like the usual stuff where you come and introduce coding and robotics. For example, is a coding and robotics. When we started talking about it, it's just coding and robotics, and then you're just doing it because school A is doing it, school B is doing it. No. Sit down. What's the framework? Why are we introducing this? How does it improve? What are the dangers, and how can we mitigate them? Right? As a parent, don't just get crazy because one billionaire says AI is where the money is, and parents know how to jump on this FOMO anyhow. AI is where the world is going to now. The next set of billionaires are going to be AI, this, and
savvy.
it's true, but there has to be a way. Otherwise, you steal the opportunity of that child really getting to grow. Being intelligent is not just about knowing how to say this or say that or being fluent in English or whatever. No, it's thinking deeply and understanding people. The world is about people. This world is a world of people. So when machines, like my other brother said, when machines begin to do everything, so what is now the place of people? So parents must pay more attention to their children. And this is something that my life is all about. These questions, you must ask them, and you must own up to the fact to say, you know what, I don't know it all. I really don't know much about it. I want to learn more about it. And I think there should be more conversations around this. And we bring solutions that are generic, not generic now, but in our context. For example, in Nigeria, the question is, are we even ready for it? We've not even finished the basic stuff. Are we ready for it? But can we afford not to be ready for it? That's another question. Because you can say, oh, are we ready for it? Oh, let's leave it. But can we afford not to be ready for it? What does it mean for our children on the global stage? Those are pertinent questions. I'm going to stop it here so that we can ask more questions.
Oh my goodness. I need that if I brought you because this is something he's passionate about. So there's no way I can say, oh, use 5 minutes to speak on this. So thank you so much, right? He has touched a lot of points and things we need to begin to think about, questions that we need to begin to have this conversation. I don't know. I really hope we are, as parents, as teachers, as school leaders, I hope we are ready for these conversations. I'll go to Dr. Chioma quickly. We started this conversation yesterday at the pre-conference session where we talked about how, finding that balance in using artificial intelligence. And you mentioned something that has not left my mind. You said when you were learning how to read, there was no artificial intelligence at the time. There was even no technology, but you learned how to read. In fact, now you teach other people how to teach. You teach to teach how to read, right? The work that you do is also in ed tech as well. But we have parents now who are heavily dependent on technology to do the teaching. There is this guy I follow, I can't remember his name, but he does a lot of teaching parents how to teach their children how to read. And he says he will never, because people have been asking him, oh, can't you do like a Miss Rachel kind of thing? Or can't you do like a video where their children can actually sit down in front of the screen and you teach them yourself? And he says, no, you cannot outsource your parenting. So a lot of parents have outsourced their parenting to technology because number one, maybe they really don't know how to do it. But Dr. Chioma, please talk about this for me. How can parents really do the foundational work, especially those that feel like they don't even know where to start from? They don't have any experience. They've never been, unlike us that are in the education space, we've taught other children, at least we have the experience. But for some that are like, I don't know, I'm seeing this technology is there to help, and maybe it will help. They will jump on it. So how can parents find that balance?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you so much, Miss Sadora. And I must commend the previous responses. Mr. Oboneya actually touched on a lot of things I said yesterday, be it not
Yeah.
displacing human interaction, having a framework for using all of these new technologies. Those are very important conversations to drive in the time we found ourselves. Yeah. And to my question, I'm going to go back to some of the things I said yesterday, how parents can navigate this. So, first of all, I'm not going to blame a lot of parents because some of the things going on now are ripple effects of maybe the previous generation, and it's going to happen with the current generation. So, wherever there is a gap, there's always going to be a ripple effect in the next generation. So, we now having parents who cannot teach their kids how to read or do not know how to choose resources or maximize them for their kids' literacy development or learning development, means that there was a gap somewhere. And when there is a gap, it also means that they haven't identified that there is that gap and sought the help of professionals at least. Like you mentioned, someone who teaches parents to teach kids how to read. There's abundance of resources. Resources is not our problems, but it's about interest. Are parents even interested? Do they even have that culture of learning? Do they even want to aspire to grow? What's their vision for their kids? When you put all of these together, it defines what parents pursue and how they want to go about raising their kids or preparing them for their futures. So if a parent hasn't desired that for themselves, they can't really do anything. I give you an example of over here. I look at kids handling all sorts of technologies, little kids using iPhone 16, iPhone 17, different forms of tablets, but they're not reading. They can't read because there is this part that parent and teacher must fulfill that we cannot displace. There's a reason why we use those technologies,
Right.
and we use them. Like I gave you some principles yesterday, be it interaction, some principles of learning that cannot be displaced. And whenever we want to use technology, we only use technology to seek these principles or enhance opportunities for these principles. Like interaction, are you using technology to further interaction? Are you using technology to further learner autonomy or immediate feedback from the teacher or creativity or ownership or even practice of learning materials or certain skills? So if we don't have the foundation, we're going to miss it. If there's no foundation, that this is why I'm using technology, this is why we use AI. If parents don't have that foundation, and if they're not willing to learn or to involve professionals or consultants, there's going to be a problem. Nobody's going to do that for them. You can outsource that part, right? If the school doesn't do it, at least you have to do it. You have to do it. So it goes back to, what do we want for our kids and how can we get them to do that? So a parent who is ready to go above and beyond is really going to get answers. When we seek, we find. But if we don't seek, we're not going to find. Technology is technology, not humans. I also mentioned something yesterday that whatever has not been captured in anybody's imagination or anybody's mind, technology is not going to give you that. For example, if you've been taught in school, if you knew that there are different kinds of essays, argumentative essay, expository essay, you already knew those things. And now knowing AI, for example, you can now use AI to further that knowledge, right? But if someone has never heard of expository essays or argumentative essays, you can't even ask AI to help you do that. So a lot of people are going to be cheated in this era. That's my fear, because whatever you haven't known, whatever haven't been captured in your imagination, be it on the side of the parents or their kids, whatever haven't been captured in your imagination, you can't get that out of a technology. You can't even imagine or want to explore that with technology. I don't know how much time I have. I can go on and on talking about this.
The beautiful thing about the conference is I love that it's at the beginning of the year because that drives the conversation for the year, right? So I'm definitely bringing you back on board. So I love it. I love it. So there's really, all I'm hearing is there's no excuse. You don't have any excuse
Yeah.
not to get the knowledge required for your child to learn. Technology is just a tool. It's just there to enhance learning, but you have the responsibility as a parent or as a teacher to strive to get knowledge, the needed knowledge to help every child. And there's always foundational work that has to be done. FNI, my question for you, and we're going to wrap up in a bit. What is one age-appropriate way parents or schools can introduce AI responsibly? What is
I
one
get asked this question a lot about age appropriate
I
fairness.
do have to ask
Yeah,
it. I have to ask
I
it
get asked a lot,
again.
The first one was when we started out was at what age should my child own a smartphone? At what age should I get a laptop for my child? What age should I get a tablet? Then moving on to AI being introduced. That's the question. Are you saying that children of this age can you know, I like what Dr. Chioma just said. I started using AI from the very early days of ChatGPT. Even if there was a video I did one time ago, it was just as AI became a viral trend that I was like, wait, there was a time I made a video about 20 tools, and all of them were AI tools, and I didn't even know what AI was then. Okay, you can't actually use AI as an ignorant person. If let's say an engineer trained in school, maybe doctorate holder, or comes to ask an AI an engineering term, and then somebody else that watched a YouTube video that told him that with ChatGPT you can know everything. If these two people, right, uses AI for the same question, okay, the other person might think, is AI, it should know everything, artificial intelligence, it knows everything, and I've been trained with lots of data from different parts of the world. So this is correct, right? And then the other person who is a doctorate degree holder in engineering, right, uses the same AI and asks the same question. Their delivery, right, the product that these two people will present to you is going to differ, okay, is going to differ. So why I'm saying this is you can't actually give your kids the same question, the same answer I always give when I'm asked about the right age for children to get access to technology. And I call it KNOW, no age. All right. You can't introduce these tools to these kids as a learning device. I don't actually think that AI is a learning tool, right? They need to at least get some level of understanding about whatever thing they want to use the AI to do, so that when the AI is giving them whatever question, they can vet it. All right. We have seen people send us applications direct from ChatGPT. And to that person, yeah, it just, no vetting. Okay. I told someone that if you're ignorant, if you're stupid, AI will make you more stupid, will make your stupidity very big like this. Okay. And you don't want that for your child. You need to make sure that the child that you're introducing to using the child you're introducing to use notebook LM. There's this feature of Google Gemini that you can use it to create a story, right? A child you're using that you're introducing to use that should be a child that knows how to have learned how to write, that have learned how to organize thoughts. All right, AI won't teach you that. AI will just send you whatever thing you're asking. Okay, it is now based on what you have already garnered from different sources, right sources, maybe school and other things, that can now help that child to know what this tool is telling you is correct or not correct. Okay, that is why I don't ever I'll tell parents they can just go ahead or when I'm even teaching a child, right, I follow through to make sure, okay, whatever thing you're giving, as the child is typing whatever they are typing on chat, you're looking at it and you say, what do you think is wrong with this statement, right? Because we need to actually get them to know that AI is not absolute. There's still a lot of bias, about what AI is giving you. AI can only give you based on the limit of education or the limit of the data it has been presented, it has been trained on. It doesn't know everything, all right? It doesn't know if at first, when image generation came into AI, if you go to AI and ask it to generate maybe any of this image generation tools to generate an African boy, it's going to show you a boy that is miserable and malnourished. It's not an African boy. No, Okay, but that is what the people that trained the AI gave it as an African child. In fact, if you go to Canva right now and type African child, you see what Canva is going to show you in the photo, when you're using section under the photos, okay? So all of these biases, the kids need to know that these things, whatever these things is giving you is not absolute, right? So what age should a child get access to artificial intelligence? Should be a no age. So what is the no age for your child, right? The no age for your child, you may not be able to tell, but that is when you as a parent or as the educator training that child need to follow up with whatever that child is doing using that AI tool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, FNI. I love that. I love that. You cannot, I love the statement, you cannot use AI as an ignorant person. Like, you can't, you can't, you can't, you can't, you can't. You honestly can't. And I love that. AI would only enhance, it can either enhance what you're currently doing, especially if you already have deep knowledge about that thing, or it will expose the person's foolishness, of which I've also seen, like you said, for applications, some people will submit applications, you still see the prompts that ChatGPT gave, they will still add it. And unfortunately, I would even expose some of our teachers in the Skill Teacher Academy when we give them papers to write, and then they just go on Google. The first thing they see there, they drop it, go to ChatGPT, just copy and paste. And I'm like, I don't understand. Is this are these teachers, are you serious at all right now? You know. So I love that you say that. Thank you so much. I have a question in the chat, but I'll take the question after I ask this last question. So in 60 seconds, I'll start with Dr. Chioma, then Joshua, and then FNI. If we get this thing right, if we're able to raise outliers, if we're able to balance this raising outliers in an AI-driven world, what kind of children are we going to start seeing in the future? So I want you to be futuristic now and just peep into the future, that if we get this whole thing right, if we take all these things that we have learned today and we do it right, what kind of children are we going to start seeing in 60 seconds?
We're going to see children who know their purpose. You know, I used to believe that no kid should leave my house as a parent or any school not knowing who they are, their purpose, what problem they were born to solve. You know, be it from the home, you would have observed their unique strengths, their abilities, their talents. And the school is there to also, work alongside parents in a normal, a normal world. Not all schools do that, right? The school is there to support those skills, those unique abilities your kids bring to school. In a normal world, it should be school and families or homes partnering to help that kid reach their maximum potential. So for me, being an outlier is someone who recognizes a kid in the future, being someone who recognizes their uniqueness, their purpose. You have a problem you were born to solve. You identify that through exposure in education, going to school, all the exposure you received, you know the problem you were born to solve, and living to fulfill that, to solve that problem. That's it. That's been an outlier for me. So if technology comes in, good. Technology helps you to even develop capacity, enhance your skills, right? And reach the world.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Thank you so much. Over to you, Joshua.
So, at tech school education, our vision is to raise the next generation of leaders and industry captains, basically outliers. And who are these people? Let's look at the way the world is today. If we say next generation of leaders, it means there are current people who are there. The Elon Musks, the creators, the builders of our world. In Nigeria, the Tony Elumelus, the Dangotes, the all these amazing people, you know, these are the people you call the 1%. These are the 1%. Look at the world, in Nigeria, we're talking about tax that FIRS came out to say, see, listen, only about 15 or less percent of the percentage of you truly will qualify to pay tax because you don't even earn as much. Many people are struggling. If we can balance the use of technology, if we can balance parental involvement in education, if we can balance an education that is systemically designed to produce these outliers, a future that is going to be equitable, a future that is going to be prosperous, then we can see many more of these builders, many more of these creators. But unfortunately, it's the same way they say, the rich keeps getting richer, the poor keeps getting poorer. It's because it's a mindset. It's because it starts from the family. The poor family or the middle class thinking family would put the same mindset in their children. The same way a teacher who doesn't really, you're not thinking about the future, you're seeing life from a one-sided view, that is the same kind of people you're going to raise. So if we can balance that, we would see a world where we have more builders, more creators, children who will grow to become leaders, not like us, but better than us. That is the kind of world that I would love to see.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love that. FNI.
All right, so Joshua already captured that for me, although I would always put this back to home, to family, if I'm going to answer for my child. Okay, I'm gonna answer for my child, right? So if I'm to think of who I would want my child to be in the future, I wouldn't want to have a consumer. No, I don't want a consumer. I want a creator, I want a producer. I want a developer. I want the one that sets the record going. I want the one that, okay, this is what I've done. You come see what I've done. Okay. I don't want someone who just relies on whatever thing that is, just dump it on me. No, I want someone who dumps it on people. Okay, I want someone who dumps it. Yeah, dump it on people. Don't just take it all in, right?
Yeah.
That's just in simple terms who I want or what I would expect our children to be in the future.
I love that. That's the outlier spirit, right? They are the ones that influence culture, right? They are the culture shapers. I just have one question in the chat, and I'm going to throw that to FNI actually. What word do you have for teachers who seem not to even know anything about navigating the basics of artificial intelligence? And you have learners who seem vast, and such teachers seem so angry when they come with you can't think with AI, right? I hope you understand what the person is trying to say. Like you have a teacher who doesn't care and doesn't know anything about AI, and they have learners who are actually vast in this knowledge, but then they get angry with their students for having that knowledge.
Okay. I've actually been struggling, most times when I'm asked to speak, I like to always be so blunt as I can, but then the other night,
Please go ahead.
I'm trying to catch myself in the middle based on this question. All right, well, that question should have been sent to me because it's only blunt answers that I have in my head. But I think if you as a teacher, okay, and you go to a classroom and then you discover that your students, your learners are wiser than you. We have a lot of teachers like that in Nigerian educational system. I've noticed that even in school, when I was in school, in university level, when you are more smarter than your lecturer, the person will so hate you. Okay, they will so hate you. But for me, it actually should expose that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay, it's supposed to expose that you're already fading out, okay? Like you're going out of style. You should expose that whatever thing you learned, maybe you learned it when you were in teaching school, right? You learned it in school, you're still there. And then the children that you're teaching have way gone past you. So it should be a wake-up call. It should be like a motivation for you to go back and learn what the children that you are teaching is learning. All right. Learn about the new things that, what are the things that children of these days are interested in. Okay. How are they getting more educated? What is, imagine your student, I was in class here in Rwanda. So the student asked me a question. There's this thing that is trending, okay? And he asked me, so I was like, what do you mean by that? Like I pretend like I did not understand him. Okay, so I gave them something to do. I quickly Googled it on my phone and found out the question. Then I asked him, so you were talking about this. So I now had to mention. It makes the child to be, to be proud of you as a teacher. Okay, it makes the child proud of you as a teacher that I know what you know, and even more than you do. All right, it makes them want to listen, because once you kill that spirit, or once you give the child the mindset of that he knows more than you, he's not going to take you serious. He will start playing stubborn. All right. In fact, there's not, he will in his head, even amongst their mate, they'll think this one doesn't know what he's doing. Right. So once you are feeling like that, or you get to that level where you feel like your student or your learner is smarter than you, it means you should go back to the drawing board. Teachers' knowledge is not supposed to stunt. At every point in time, as an educator, you need to keep learning. You need to keep learning what's trending, what's the next thing based on this thing I'm teaching. How are they teaching it now? Where are the children getting more knowledge about this? So that once you are faced with that question, you will not, you'll not run out of it. You will not try to dodge it.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
I
so
hope I was
much.
nice enough.
You were nice. You were nice. You're really nice. I knew you were trying
It was
to
difficult.
manage
It
what you
was
were
very
saying.
difficult.
I love it. You were nice. Thank you so much. Thank you, FNI. Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Dr. Chioma, for spending time with us here at the Fresh Look Africa 6th Annual Conference. Guys, can we say thank you? I see the conversations happening in the chats. Thank you so much. Sorry?
I wanted to add something to
Oh,
something.
please go ahead. Just go ahead in a minute. Dr. Chioma has to go though, because she needs to rest. She has a long day. Dr. Chioma, please, I'll let you go because she's
All right. Thank you
around
so
the
very
same
much.
time
Yeah,
zone.
thank you guys. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you
And
so much.
enjoy
We'll see
the
you.
rest
We'll
of the
see you
conversation.
in our community very soon.
All right. All right. Have
Thank
a
you so
good rest of your
much.
day. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.
So there was a question someone asked, or you asked Frederick earlier, about when is appropriate, age appropriate to introduce AI. I just wanted to, and I love what you answered, Frederick. There's no age, and you were trying to explain something about, what are some things you should be able to see to say, okay, you basically follow them through the journey, to know when you would know when you feel like it's appropriate. This is what I would say. Let your children, let their cognitive mind develop. Allow their cognitive mind or brain to develop. What do I mean by that? Teach them how to make decisions. Let me tell you the truth. If you can learn to teach your children, and teachers, listen carefully, you are stewards. You are stewards. Most parents, truly, to be honest, and Dr. Kehinde was saying this during her time, how that you don't have a choice to work multiple shifts. The world has been designed in a way that there is so much pressure on parents that parents are no longer available for their children. So we're saying all these things, having all these programs. You probably do a poll here and you find out that we have less parents than we have teachers in here. So it tells you that they somehow at the end of it depend on the teachers to be able to do the job. They depend on you. So what it means is if you are not pushing yourself to do beyond the usual, the cycle will continue and it will get worse. We would only raise children who are not prepared for the future. Teach the children to make decisions. Embrace technology, but while you are embracing that, teach them to be able to make decisions. If you can teach a child to make the right decision, you've given them everything they need. Because then they will be able to, as they keep going, as more exposure keep coming in, as more possibilities keep coming into their mind, they will be able to differentiate between good, between bad. And with that, whether it's AI today, or tomorrow is humanoid robots, or next tomorrow is whatever that is coming up, AGI and the rest, they will be able to navigate whatever future that is thrown at them. Prepare them for the future, not just for them to. Dr. Sumi at the retreat said something very powerful. He said, when you ask the students a question and you tell them A, B, C, D, they always leave space for option E, which is, what do you think? Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, this has been packed. Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you, Frederick,